Forget everything the movies told you. The real cowboy wasn't a gunslinger squaring off at high noon. He was tired, filthy, underpaid kid on a horse doing one of the hardest jobs in American history. For about $1 a day, this is what a real day actually looked like. It started in the dark around 3 or 4 in the morning, long before the sun came up. The cook banged a pot and the camp groaned awake. There was no sleeping in on a cattle drive. The cattle didn't care that you were exhausted, and neither did the trail boss. Then you caught your horse. A cowboy didn't just ride one, he had a string of 6 to 10, swapped out through the day because the work would break a single animal. Picking your mount from the morning herd, the remuda, was the first real task of the day. And then the real work began, moving thousands of cattle slowly north. This wasn't a sprint. A drive crawled along maybe 10 or 15 miles a day for months. The whole job was keeping a giant, nervous, stupid herd moving in roughly the right direction without losing your mind. Where you rode decided how miserable your day was. Lucky few rode point up front. Everyone else rode the sides, and the newest, lowest man rode drag at the very back. Drag meant eating the dust of 2,000 cattle for 12 straight hours. You'd be brown by noon. That bandana wasn't a fashion statement. It was a dust mask. A sunscreen, a sweat rag, and a bandage all in one. Every single thing a cowboy wore had a brutal, practical reason behind it. The wide hat shaded his neck, the chaps saved his legs from brush and rope burn. The biggest fear on a trail wasn't outlaws, it was the river. Crossing a swollen river with thousands of panicking cattle drowned more cowboys than any gunfight ever did. Men and animals got swept away, tangled in the herd, and pulled under. A lot of cowboys couldn't even swim. If you survived the morning, the chuck wagon had rolled ahead and set up for the midday meal. More beans, maybe a stew. The cowboys grimly called son of a bitch stew, made from whatever parts of a calf were left over. You ate fast. The herd never stopped for long. The afternoon was the same grind, heat, dust, and boredom, broken up by sudden chaos when a few hundred cattle decided to wander off and you had to chase them down. The job was 90% monotony and the 10% pure terror. And the thing every cowboy dreaded above all else was the stampede. A clap of thunder, a snake, even a sneeze in the dark could send the whole herd into a blind, thundering panic. Men were crushed under hooves. A stampede at night was a nightmare you rode straight into. As the light died, you made camp. The cook fed everyone again. The horses were turned out, and for a few minutes around the fire, there was actually something like peace. Tired men, tobacco, maybe a story or a harmonica. This was the closest thing to a reward the day gave you. But the cattle still had to be watched, so the night was split into shifts of guard duty. You ride slow circles around the sleeping herd in the pitch dark, and you'd sing soft, low songs constantly. Not for fun. The sound kept the cattle calm and stopped them spooking into a stampede. When your shift ended, you slept on the ground, a bedroll, the hard earth, bugs, snakes, and whatever the weather felt like doing to you. A few hours later, the cook banged that pot again, and the whole brutal thing started over again. For all of this, the pay was about $1 a day, maybe $30 a month. Months of danger, filth, exhaustion. For less than the price of a nice meal today, nobody got rich punching cattle. You did it because it was a job, and jobs were scarce. And the men doing it were not who Hollywood showed you. As many as 1 in 4 cowboys were black. A huge number were Mexican vaqueros, the original cowboys who invented nearly every tool and technique the job depended on. Plenty were Native American. The real West was far more mixed than the movies admit. They were also young, a lot of them teenagers, some as young as 15. This was a hard, dangerous labor done mostly by poor kids and young men with nowhere better to be. The grizzled old gunslinger was mostly a myth. The real cowboy was barely an adult. And the West would kill you in 100 boring ways before any outlaw got the chance. Falling off a horse, getting dragged by a rope, a small cut going septic with no doctor for 100 miles, lightning, the river, the work itself was a real danger. But at the end of the trail, after months of hell, came town. Hay in your pocket, a real bed, a hot bath, a hot meal, and a saloon. Most cowboys ballooned entire seasons of wages in a single wild week, then rode back out broke to do it all again. So that was the real cowboy, not a hero, not a villain, just a tough, broke, filthy kid doing an impossible job for almost nothing. We turned them into legends because the truth was even harder than the legend. And honestly, that makes them more impressive, not less.